Hello, my name is Chun and I grew up in mainland China. Like most Chinese people, I was taught at a young age that 3 things could make me happy: hard work, higher education, and a successful career. But as a child and even later as an adult, what I wanted more than anything was to be loved. Growing up, I felt overlooked and unloved. My father lived and worked in a city hundreds of kilometers away, and he came home just twice a year. So my mom was left to take care of 3 children by herself while keeping up with her job as a school principal. As you can imagine, the stress took a toll on her. She became strict, stern, and impatient. I tried my best to obey her. When I started school, I made sure to bring home good report cards to please her. But it seemed no matter how hard I tried, she was never pleased. My best effort would just keep me out of trouble. I often felt jealous towards my older sister and younger brother, to whom my mom sometimes showed love and kindness. When I was 9 years old, I was in a bad accident that gave me a concussion and left me in a deep coma. As I was laying there comatose, I saw from a bird's eye view my mom crying at my bedside in the clinic. After I recovered, I confirmed this with my sister, who also had been there when my mom was crying over me. My sister could not believe I had seen that, because I had been in a deep coma at that time, but I knew what I had seen. Since then, not only did I start to realize that my mom didn't love me, but contrary to the teaching of atheism and evolution in China, I also had a soul beside my physical body. I continued to work hard in my studies after recovering from the accident. I did well on the high school graduation exams, and I was accepted into a famous university. There, I met John, who became my husband later, while studying biochemical engineering. Upon completing the undergraduate program, my family encouraged me to go for a master's degree. I agreed and ended up doing research at a university in Hong Kong. This was a critical time in my life. While conducting experiments on DNA samples, I began to realize that this intricate, complex world could not have come about by a big bang or by evolution. Randomness never produces order. I concluded that there must be a designer and maker for everything, and this creator must be very powerful and wise. After I finished my master's program in 1995, John and I got married, and I joined him in Maryland, USA. I worked hard as a waitress, saved money, and then enrolled as a graduate student in computer science. By Chinese standards, my future certainly looked very bright. I had attained all 3 things that was supposed to make me happy. Hard work and high education had positioned me for a very bright career. And on top of all of that, my husband was very good to me. But deep down inside, I often felt empty and discontent. John could not meet all the needs of my heart. There was still something missing. At that time, I noticed a friend who was, different. Her life was not easy. In fact, it reminded me of my mom's situation when I was little. As a full-time graduate student, this friend of mine had to take care of 2 young daughters by herself. Her husband was living and working in another state. She faced a lot of demands. Her life was stressful like my mom's. But she was actually happy. She was always sweet, kind, and patient with everyone, especially her 2 little girls. She didn't even complain about her husband's absence. I wondered, how could she manage such a life and still be happy? One day, while carpooling to school, I asked her to explain her unusual approach to life. She said, "Chun, it's not me, it's Jesus." Then she told me about how Jesus comforted and encouraged her all the time. I was curious about this Jesus, so I borrowed a few Christian books and cassettes from her. From those materials, I learned that this Jesus was the designer and maker of this universe. I also start to see that my unhappiness was caused by my own sins, like my selfishness, pride, and envy. I always want people to love me, but I didn't really care about others. I discovered that even though I was such a selfish person, Jesus loved me so much that He left heaven, came to earth, lived a perfect life, died on the cross for my sins, and arose from the grave so that I could have a relationship with God. Those ideas were very strange but intriguing to me. Maybe this love from Jesus was the thing I had been missing all my life. Neither my mom nor my husband was able to give me this kind of love. On Good Friday of 1998, my friend invited me to a church evangelical gathering, and that day changed everything. The guest preacher, who used to be a medical doctor, backed up the biblical story of Jesus with scientific and historical evidences. I feel like God Himself was reasoning with me. I could not ignore it. I had to acknowledge once and for all that God was real and His Son Jesus was the only one who could save me from my sins and satisfy the deepest needs of my heart. When the preacher finished, I raised my hand and accepted Jesus as my personal Savior. Ever since that day, God's unconditional love had kept my heart satisfied and at peace no matter what difficulties have come my way. And I know that Jesus can satisfy your heart too.